It's summer, school is out, everyone is left on vacation. Boredom turns to daring acts of courage, or a mistake someone will live to regret. Stop the Threat starts now. Hello and welcome to Stop the Threat. My name is James Towle. On this week's episode, we take you to Dayton, Ohio. A woman living alone ignores two men knocking at her door. We call this one Summer Folly. But let me introduce you to this week's panel. Jeffrey Phipps. Jeffrey is a retired Air Force Master Sergeant. He is also a 29-year veteran firefighter and currently holds the rank of captain. He also brings to the show his 911 experience. Mike Hurd. Mike has been in law enforcement since 1976. He has also been a contractor for Homeland Security and now works part-time for a security company while he awaits a reassignment overseas. Jorge DeLeon. Jorge is a former police officer, and in 2001, Jorge began a career in the U.S. Army and was wounded in 2004. He is now currently a certified instructor in San Antonio, Texas, and welcome all.
Thank you.
Listen, since we have you here, Jeffrey, and I know we can all probably speak on the 911 issue, and I get a lot of emails from you folks on what to say, what not to say, and as Jeffrey and I have been exchanging emails about 911 for months, okay?
Sir.
So I'm going to set up a scenario, okay, so that we can kind of identify easier if I do it this way. So I've stopped in a convenience store. And I'm in the convenience store. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I am armed. And the bad guy comes in waving a shotgun around. He holds the shotgun on some of the people who are standing in line, throws the bag up, they put the money in it. He turns away momentarily. I draw my weapon and I shoot him to the ground. What am I going to do with 911 now?
I'm in the convenience store. There's a robbery in progress. The bad guy had a gun, and I had to shoot him.
And that's what you would say? Okay.
Something to that effect.
Okay, well, that's an important issue because there's a lot of folks who would say, you know, don't mention the fact that you shot anyone. I get a lot of emails from you folks saying that.
Don't lead with I shot someone. Lead with the crime, not with the action.
Okay, so you would say?
I will obviously give my description so the police know what I'm wearing, where I'm standing, what I did, so they don't shoot me, of course, you know. But yeah, I will say it too, you know, if I'm a law-abiding citizen and I have everything by the law and I'm licensed and I did everything, I don't see something wrong with not saying it. But yeah, like Jeffrey says, don't lead with it, but let them know there's been shot fires, there's a gun involved. And
the reality of the situation is this, Mike. When that happens, 3 other people are calling 911 at the same time, and they're all talking about the same thing. I think it becomes confusing at that point, but so I'm going to go with lead with the crime.
Lead with the crime. The dispatchers are going to tell the responding officers receiving multiple reports of a shooting at the convenience store during a robbery.
Okay, all right. There's
how it's
nothing
going to go out.
self-incriminating there. You're not going to get in trouble when law enforcement arrives. You're going to holster up. I'm going to say one other thing. Don't let the witnesses leave. Lock the door until law enforcement arrives.
Yes.
Now, that's going to cover you on so many levels if everybody is there. But when I come back, I'll show you part 1 of Summer Folly, and we may have more. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. We just kind of ran over a scenario that's pretty common around any city or any town, anywhere, and we discussed a little bit of 911. I closed that up by saying, lock the door, keep the witnesses. I think that's probably a good idea. I don't know if everybody wants to remain, and there could be some issues there. But the other thing I would say, and I'm going to ask your professional opinions on it, well, don't touch any brass. Okay, if the weapons have gone off and there's been an exchange, don't touch anything. Stay where you are if you can. Right or wrong?
Right, right. One of the things that, of course, in law enforcement they teach you and people should know is to secure the scene. You know, don't touch anything. You might try to do a good job by removing this gun maybe here so it's safer, but at the same time you might damage, you know, put some fingerprints or something. They just better just secure it as much as you can. Don't touch anything until, you know, the authorities get there.
Anybody want to add to that?
Well, if the suspect is, you know, down and out of the action, and you don't have any worries, I think I would leave the gun alone.
Only reason I would touch the gun of the guy that I just shot is if he's still alive
Right.
and still moving.
Right.
I'm going to take it away from him.
Yeah, I'm either going
Otherwise,
to
I'm
push it
gonna
out of
leave
the
it
way
there.
or stand on it. In this
Right.
particular case, I was saying shotgun, so I guess you could stand on
Right.
it.
Remove
Hey,
the
let's
threat.
watch part 1 of Summer Folly, though, because we're going to have a lot of information going on here.
Man, this sucks. There's nothing to do.
Yeah, I was out of town for vacation.
Want to break into a house?
What?
I mean, like you said, everyone's out for vacation. I mean, why not break into a house? I mean, we don't have to take anything. Just see what it's like.
Sure. Why not? Which house?
Why not this one?
Okay. Any idea who lives here?
Nope. That's what makes it exciting.
How can you tell if there's anyone home?
Like this.
Hello?
How long would you see if they opened the door?
I mean, if someone were home, they probably would have heard it by now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I sent it to her. No, I sent it in an email and I sent her all the spreadsheets. Yeah, everything that she needs. Mm-hmm.
All right, no one's answering. I think we're good.
Now's the part we get to break a window, right?
Nah, we'll go around back. Wonder what we're gonna find in there.
Dude, who knows?
All right, well, just read it to me. What?
Okay, when I first read this one, I was a little concerned that two people come to your front door and you don't answer the door. And as it turns out in this particular neighborhood that this took place, and maybe yours as well, and maybe yours at home, a lot of people, solicitors, are coming around knocking on doors all the time or leaving something or wanting to sell a vacuum cleaner, if they do that anymore, I don't know. But so it wasn't unusual to ignore the front door, especially when she had a telephone call she
Hello?
thought was more important. She wasn't expecting anyone, so this was not as unusual as I thought. What do you think?
For me, it's really unusual. You know, just having somebody knock at the door, you see two shadows or shapes over there. You don't know who they are, and just because the phone rings, you're just gonna forget about it. I never seen that happen.
But it did.
It did.
And let me make this clear at home. We don't make these up. I mean, we didn't make this up so that we could build a scenario. This has actually happened just the way we saw it. And the lady in the house said she didn't answer the door because people are coming by knocking all the time. So she just kind of looked out there, ignored it. She wasn't expecting anyone. She was tired, just got home, the phone rang. She thought that was more important. So that is how it came together.
I kind of agree with Jorge. I think that would be a very unusual thing, but you know, she's getting calls like this all the time. I mean, people coming up there all the time like that. I don't know. I still would never ignore something like that.
That's what I would say.
I would never ignore something
and I
like
think
that.
that's what we would want to tell them at home. If somebody's knocking on the door, at least identify who that is.
If it's a solicitor, no, we're not buying. Don't need it. Wouldn't use it if I had it.
Right, and if the phone rings, then you make a choice. I mean, you can put the phone on hold. Okay, you can just say, no, I'm busy right now, come, whatever, come back.
Hold on, let me get rid of these guys.
Right.
Hey,
Yeah.
I got to take this. Have a nice day. Close the door, lock it, and be done with them.
Yeah, what's
The
wrong
lady
with
at
that?
the house does not know what their intentions are, but we know from watching it.
A bit nefarious, and
Yes, sir.
hold on to that thought, because we're going to run away, but we will be right back, and we've got more to show you. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. Before we get started on part 2, let me just say this, that the 2 young men involved here were 13 and 16 years old. They did not have a criminal record. These were basically a couple of kids who were bored. They thought that they would break into a home for the thrill of it. I'm not going to condone that, but let's see what happens in part 2.
We're gonna run back. Wonder where we're gonna find him there.
Dude, I don't know. You sure you don't know who lives here?
Nah.
You sure no one's home?
I mean, no one answered the door, and they left the gate open.
There's a gate open.
It's locked.
Here, let me see it.
I gotta go. Someone's trying to break into my house.
Hey, look! Damn it!
Get out of my house! Get out of my house! Yes, 2 kids just broke into my house. One of them ran at me and I shot him. Well, no, he's not dead, but they both ran off.
Okay, who wants to run with this one? 2 bored kids, they break into a house, Jorge. They're not expecting to find anyone inside. Did she do anything wrong?
For me, for what I saw, nothing wrong. You know, a lot of people might say she should call 911 first. I don't know. And for what I saw, a woman by herself in her house, breaking into the house, 2 gentlemen, kids, whatever, you know, she armed herself, make sure that she was safe, and then call 911.
I think I disagree with Jorge with just a little bit in that she was already talking to somebody on the phone. She could have told that person, somebody's breaking into my house, call 911 for me. She did not have much time between the time she realized it and the kid was in there, but she did have time enough to tell that person. And then when they did get in the house, obviously they had no weapons. They did not run toward her. There were some issues there. Was she within her rights? Yeah, probably so. But nevertheless, there was some time. She had some distance, you know. There's a lot of ifs and ands in that.
When she armed herself, she left the phone where she would have had to move towards the bad guy to get to it. If he actually had ill intentions, he could grab the phone and break it, and now she's, on the island by herself.
In a
with 5
perfect
shots.
world, she would have locked the gate.
Right.
And that might have slowed down quite a bit. They would have had to go to the trouble of hopping over. Maybe that would have given her. I go back to what you said, that I don't think there's any reason why she should have ended her conversation. She should have said, "There's somebody breaking into my home, stand by," and put the phone down, and then do her voice intimidation, because you got a witness now. And I'm telling you, I am armed. Why are you in my home?
She was obviously on the phone with somebody from work because they were talking about work stuff. So that person more than likely has access to another phone. You're absolutely correct in your saying, hey, call 911 for me and leave that line open, but take it with you when you arm yourself.
Yeah.
She saw the imminent danger. She knew she needed to get armed, so she got armed, but she left the phone where she couldn't
Yeah,
get
you know, I'm okay with that. If I was a little trained, I might be able to do that. We're talking about a woman alone. She wasn't shooting a 22. She had a real gun there. I
Right.
mean, she was going to do some damage to somebody. And now I got two things in my hand. I mean, I follow what you're saying. I don't know how practical it is.
I wouldn't have left it that far away. I would
Well,
have brought it back with me.
maybe I ought to put it closer.
When
Go
you
ahead,
think
Ori, you're burning.
about all this, and I understand that, you know, everybody has different opinions, but you have to feel the way she feels. You know, she probably doesn't have that much training, and she's only concerned about my safety. So she's not thinking about the phone or thinking about telling somebody else call 911. I'm going to defend myself, and after that, I deal with it, whatever it comes.
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot of second thinking on her part. I think she was scared.
She was probably tunnel visioned at
Right,
that
yeah,
point.
exactly.
She was
Tunnel
in tunnel
vision,
vision.
right.
She wasn't thinking
Right.
about that phone. And she didn't, you know, she said, get out of my house, but she also was suffering time compression, and those guys didn't have a chance to retreat, but in her mind, things were going really slow.
Right. You know, I hate to say that because she was a woman that we should give her some extra space in there. I don't really want to say that. But if you're a woman alone, don't spend a lot of time worrying about that. Stop the threat is exactly how I'm going to phrase that. And we'll worry about the legal issues later. I don't think there was any issue here of her setting up an ambush. You know, I don't think any of those issues would come in. When law enforcement arrived, you know, I don't think they're going to say you didn't do this or you should have done that. When we come back, though, we'll have some closing remarks for you, and we will discuss it a little bit further. Don't go away. Welcome back, viewers. You know, we've seen this segment. I like part one. I like part two. I think this puts a lot of questions on the table. So what I would like to do is I'm going to go around the table and I'm going to ask our guests to offer you some suggestions on what could have or would have happened. Hindsight's not bad if you learn from it. Start me off.
Yeah, I will say, you know, what we saw in the scenario, a good thing that I would like to tell everybody is like, when you're home, you know your home better than anybody else. You know, take some time, build up some kind of situation. If they're coming this way, what I would do. And keep practicing it at home. Just by doing that, you create muscle memory. And if it happens, you're just going to react and do it right away.
Yeah.
And that you can do that about taking cover, call 911, and whatever steps you want to do.
Yeah.
Create a situation.
Day or night?
Day or night.
Day or night, because if it happens at night, I don't care if you're male or female, you know your home better than the bad guy does. And you need to be able to walk through that house in the dark.
Yeah.
Okay?
Definitely.
I'll piggyback on what Jorge said. Get some training. Prepare yourself and plan your work your plan. Run the scenarios. But most importantly, stay calm. The person that stops thinking loses the fight.
Right.
That's
Okay.
right.
Mike?
I would agree with both of them. The training is an essential thing to do, and as you said, you know your house better than anybody else. You should war game this in your head all the time. And she did pretty well, except for just a couple of things that we already mentioned. So I'm pretty impressed with her generally. I think that her awareness of her gate being open would have been a lot better. You know, she should have taken care of her own safety in advance. But she's a busy woman. I mean, she's getting calls all the time. You know, it doesn't excuse that lack of awareness, but nevertheless, now she will do things, you know, because that dramatic event is going to affect change in her.
As we speak, I'm going to get an email from someone who's going to ask me, was there a non-lethal solution? Was there?
It depends on the person. How do you feel? How threatening you feel?
Okay.
It might have been. It might have
Do
been.
you want to be standing in the kitchen with a taser or a gun?
Oh, if I was me, I'd rather stand there with a gun.
Okay, go.
We know that they were 3 bored teenagers because we have the gift of hindsight. She felt imminent danger. Was there a non-lethal outcome? Potentially.
I don't know what
But
it
I'm
would
not
have
gonna-
been. What would it have been?
She could have said stop or get out of my house. And when they left, call the cops and tell them what the kids were wearing. Hey, 2 guys tried to break in my house.
Okay, that would be the voice intimidation part. They come in through the house, they see her armed. Yeah, okay.
saw
I'm
him.
not calling that non-lethal necessarily. I think it's a good idea, but I'm thinking non-lethal as in terms of non-lethal weapon.
I'm in agreement with James. I like the taser a lot. I have personal experience with the taser. However, of course, with multiple adversaries like that, it puts you in a trick bag. You may not can handle both of those guys. So I'm in agreement with Jorge. The gun is absolutely the best alternative because of that.
If you don't have a gun, the fire extinguisher that's in most kitchens in America is a fantastic
Yeah, or
start.
hairspray or anything
Absolutely
else
is a
you can
good
get.
one.
Hey, I got to run. Thank you very much for tuning in this week. We certainly appreciate that you have chosen Stop the Threat for your evening entertainment, and we'll see you again next week. Be safe, be trained, be alert.